I do wonder as well that if anybody's going to get caught doing this, it's going to be pilots, isn't it? Because they're the ones. If you're on the plane or whatever, you have to follow that white line, don't you, all the way down before you go take it off or before you come in like that. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to the podcast that is Washington to Westminster, a comedic, we'd like to think, podcast between what's left of the US and UK special relationship. Mm-hmm. I'm Matt Johnson. I have a YouTube channel which is called The Interesting Times, which looks at UK politics, and having the unenviable task of the American version on the YouTube channel Phoenix News Network is Andrea Bridges-Smith. Andrea, hello. I've got the feeling that this is going to be the standard question for the next 4 years, but what's the latest happening over there in the court of King Donald?
Well, as usual, not much to report. If you are wondering whether he has fixed the economy yet, no. If you're wondering whether he's illegally deported people, definitely. And if you're wondering if there has been a sharp uptick in news headlines containing the words constitutional crisis, abso-freaking-lutely.
Priorities, eh? I bet there's more than your fair share of abso-freaking-lutely in there as well, I can imagine.
Exactly. So the reason that our Constitution is feeling a little under the weather concerns the case of several Venezuelans who were deported to El Salvador. Trump said that they were gang members, and apparently if you have a tattoo, that makes you automatically a gang member. So my grandpa, turns out, was in a gang. Unfortunate. Now, the federal judge in charge of the case said, no, you cannot deport these people. You have to bring them back. And Trump's Justice Department was like, excuse me, we couldn't hear you over the jet engines taking these people to another country. Sorry. And then the president of El Salvador literally posted, oopsie, too late on Twitter, which was then retweeted by Marco Rubio, our diplomat in chief, which is very diplomatic of him. Now, the Justice Department is refusing to answer the judge's questions about this because the judge was like, hey, I said not to do a thing, and then you did a thing, and now I have follow-up questions. And they're like, we can't, I don't know, judge. And so they're basically stating that they don't really care what this judge thinks because they're going to do what they want anyways. And Elon Musk is calling for the judge to be impeached. I saw this morning that it looks like the House is trying to put together a resolution to impeach this judge for the huge crime of not doing what Donald Trump wanted him to do. And the week's only half over.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I did ask. I am genuinely terrified for you, though. You're clearly slipping into a fascist state, as I say, very scared.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about that too. But what are you going to do? We got lots of stuff to watch on Netflix, so I guess as long as they don't take that away, then we can watch Netflix in our fascist dictatorship. That'll be fun. Now, what happens next is anyone's guess, but Trump's usual move here is to keep appealing and appealing and appealing whatever decision he doesn't agree with until he reaches the Supreme Court.
And this from the most unappealing human being on earth, right? Thank you. Sorry, had to be done. I beg your pardon. Please continue.
And that is even funnier because, of course, oranges have a very thick peel and his skin is very thin, and yet he is still an orange. Weird. Multitudes. Contains multitudes. Now, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, he has made the rare move of admonishing Trump this week and saying, hey, listen, you can't just go impeaching every judge that you disagree with. That's improper. And Trump, of course, doesn't really care what anybody thinks anymore. So if he escalates this all the way up to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says, now, Donald, no, you cannot do that. You need to abide by the judge's ruling and do what you're told. Then he really doesn't have to listen to that, thanks to John Roberts and the Supreme Court, who basically gave Trump permission to shoot people in the face as long as he's behind a White House podium while he does it. And going through the motions in courts and then ignoring what they say if he disagrees with it. So why bother going through the motions and just skip ahead to the part where you do whatever you want? And that, is not great if you are commander-in-chief of, and I cannot stress this enough, a slightly larger than normal military.
Yeah, a rather large military with a fair amount of, explosive power, shall we say.
Sure.
Here's something that kind of spooked and made me question reality. I saw that there was it an NBC poll which showed over 50% of Americans saying that actually America was heading in the right direction. Is that right?
I haven't seen that poll, so I won't comment on that. I saw a different poll that said otherwise. I think, though, Joe Biden got booted out, and Kamala Harris subsequently because of the economy. People were saying, okay, I know that the stock market looks good, and I know that, everybody says the economy is good, but rent is still really high. All the prices are still really high. Nothing is coming down. So the money coming out of my pocket continues to be more and more, even though everybody is saying the economy is okay. So I want to change things up. I want to get Trump back in here because before the pandemic, the economy was good. And, if you look at a line on a graph and you look at the, there have been some interesting graphs lately where it shows Trump's first 100 days, Biden's first 100 days, and Trump's second first 100 days. And in Trump's first 100 days in his first term, economy, the line on the graph goes up. Biden, same thing. This one, nosedive.
Wow.
Just, wow. And I don't think that anybody who voted for a change and lower prices in the economy is going to tolerate that for very long. I also don't think that the optics of the richest man in the world firing everybody and then being mad about, his Tesla stock going down is going to play very well with those people who voted for cheaper grocery and rent prices. So Donald Trump, if he is going to seize power, should probably do it pretty quickly because I expect a revolt to come soon.
Yeah, I mean that's the point, isn't it? That so is it Project 2025 where essentially you've now got your last president, your last elected president, effectively.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Still, on the good news, all those Trump supporters definitely own the libs.
And you know what? That is what is important. We can all agree on that. Oh, we're so owned right now. They also owned themselves. So it was a double owning. It's very, very efficient. If we're trying to do Department of Government efficiency, if you own both sides at the same time, that's a real winner. What about on your side of the pond, Matt? How are things? I'm hoping they are calmer.
Yeah, well, it's slightly calmer, shall we say. Here's the strange thing. So you know how Elon's going through government departments with the chainsaw and all the chaos that comes with doing that, right?
Yes, and luckily the chainsaw is not made by one of his companies, or it would have burst into flames by now. But yes, go on.
Or turned back on itself and sort you later on. Well, the funny thing, right, because it turns out we're doing the same sort of thing over here. There's a deficit in Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor's finances, which means we've got to find £5 billion somewhere, which also means tough choices. And I think you know what that means, Andrea.
It means grandma's fucked.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Get the poor to pay. I mean, that's it. They're cutting disability allowances, freezing benefits, unclear what benefits at the moment, but they are coming. In fact, they got announced virtually at the same time that we're putting this thing out. So there we go.
And no one thought to raise taxes on rich people instead of doing that? Was that an option that was explored at all? Did anyone even touch that?
Yeah, well, it would have been by the Labour. Oh, whoops, yeah.
Well, I mean, who needs benefits anyway? I mean, just because you're a disabled old pensioner doesn't mean you can't pull yourself by the bootstraps and, Nope. Actually, I am being told that that is exactly what that means. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, we're laughing, but genuinely this stinks. I have to say, for so many reasons. As I say, this is the Labour Party, right? And they aren't supposed to be doing stuff like this. But do
Right.
you remember, Andrew, in 2008? Oh, you're too young, I know. But in 2008, bankers crashed the economy. Did we turn around and say, well, sorry, tough choices means you're on your own? No, we bailed them out with taxpayers' money. Now, the same is happening for the most vulnerable people in society. We're expecting them to pick up the tab. And there's going to be fatalities because of this, I have no doubt. We had austerity with Cameron's government following the 2008 crash, and they reckon it amounted for something like 135,000 preventable deaths, which is basically over
Wow.
3 times as many civilians died during World War II. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane. I, you know, I wonder if you've noticed this, that the pro-life people are very anti-quality of life. They will fight tooth and nail to make sure that you are born into the shittiest circumstances imaginable, and you are supposed to fight your way out of that like it's the fucking Hunger Games. Do they
Yeah.
not know that that film was dystopian and not utopian? It's not supposed to be an instruction manual.
Or what's that saying? No justice, just us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope that they get treated with the exact same amount of empathy that they have given out when it is their turn to receive some.
Okay. It's all a bit dark at the moment for a comedy podcast, right? Do you mind if I try and lighten the temperature, shall we say? Not lighten the
I
temperature,
wish you
lighten the
would.
mood. There we go. Yes. So I've seen that some in France have asked for the return of the Statue of Liberty, and the White House spokesperson, and let me make sure I get this right, Caroline Leavitt.
Levitt, I
Am I
think,
allowed to
something
say
like that.
bimbo? No? All right, forget it then. She has basically said non, which I think is probably the limit of her French, right? And she went on to say that it's thanks to the Americans that the French aren't speaking German.
Huh.
God bless her complete lack of historical knowledge. Thankfully, I have you here, Andrea, to represent America in the right way, of course. So, can you think of anything America should be thankful to France for?
Let's see, Champagne, a couple hundred years of warm relations, the prostitutes for Ben Franklin, that time we did all that stuff in the Middle East, that other time we did all that stuff in the Middle East, buying all those bombs from us, and of course that fun sound that a guillotine makes when it's slicing off a head. Yeah, I think maybe America could spend a little bit more time writing in our gratitude journal.
Yeah, I'm thinking as well about your independence, Andrea. America would not be America if France hadn't
Yes.
lent you their munitions, among other things. Maybe Macron should have a look at what minerals you have, right?
Yes, I of course left out that France is the OG of military prowess.
You really are.
We really took that and ran with it, didn't we?
Everyone give it up for America's favorite fighting Frenchman!
You really did, yes. So, Andrea, I think the next few stories, by the way, will fall under any other news, but we're going to try and fly through them fairly quickly. And maybe they shouldn't do anyway. But so here we go. Here's a question for you. Would you fight for your country and by extension, die and or kill for your country? Don't worry, I won't hold you to the answer. You are not legally obliged, let me put it that way.
Okay, really love how you're lightening the mood here. It's working. It's working. Gotta ask. I'll answer a question with a question. Which version of my country are we talking about? Is it the one where I still get to vote, or the one where I'm thrown into Guantanamo Bay for saying Trump is a shithead?
Now that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because I've seen on RGB News, which obviously, as we've spoken about before, is the equivalent of your Fox News, that they've getting people on there now who are ex-soldiers and stuff and patriots, the sort of people who would wax lyrical about World War II until until the Germans come home. I don't know, but anyway, they basically they're now sitting there going, not this version, not under Starmer. I won't go to war under Starmer. Not worth it, that sort of thing. It's just
Okay.
like, okay, but you do understand that after another few years, you get to vote Starmer out. That option is no longer an option under Putin.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's
Exactly.
it's kind of nice in a way because you get a bit of company when you're filling out your voting form by a chap with a gun, and you're sort of like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, Vladimir Putin, yes, of course. Interestingly, he's the only name on this sheet, but I'm probably going to stick there. Yeah, wonderful, thank you. So anyway, the reason I'm mentioning all this is because obviously the war in Ukraine, and they're having conscription in Poland, and an army general, a British army general, said that we might need to do the same over here.
Oh, that is extremely alarming. Is it time for you to get some bone spurs, Matt?
I am actually nearing 60, so I think I'd be okay. Let me put it this way: if I do get called up, the UK's in a whole lot of trouble. Right? I mean, that's something else. Unless I'll be like one of those retired, sort of too old for this shit sort of guys with a sniper rifle who just takes people out left, right, and centre. Anyway,
maybe you could be the guy that sweeps the stuff off the table and unrolls a map. Could you be that guy? The table sweeping map guy?
A table sweeping guy could definitely be. Yes, absolutely. That's me all over. Sign me up. What's the starting rate? Is there a union? Anyway.
The table sweepers union.
Now, I wasn't aware of this, but the UK and France, I was aware of this. The UK and France are the only two European countries that have nuclear capabilities.
Oh,
but
okay.
The UK is reliant on the US to launch them. Basically, there's a US carrier or something. So basically, if Trump says no because of worrying about upsetting his buddy Vlad the invader, then we're screwed.
I mean, pro tip, never outsource your nuke launching. It makes things very muddy if you ever need to go boom.
Oh, and the final bit, so here we go. You'll be delighted to hear, Andrea, because I know you like to hear about these. We are having another by-election.
If you had told me 10 years ago I would be this excited about British by-elections, I wouldn't have believed you, but here we are.
Yes.
This is exciting. So what is this one for? Is Starmer in any danger here of getting the axe? Are we starting to give produce the side eye? Where are we at?
Oh, well, yes. Now, that's a good point. But I do want to bring you back to, and I can't remember which episode it was, I spoke initially about by-elections. And we're like, you Europeans, you're so carefree. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with that. No, it's not a general election. It's a by-election in the sense of only one person's involved. So that's different to any other by. Anyway, the point I'm making is it's a Labour MP. Yeah, it's a Labour MP called Mike Ainsbury, who actually isn't a Labour MP anymore because he punched a constituent.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, that'll teach you to try and bring up council business out of hours, won't it? Anyway, it's very exciting. It'll be the first one since Starmer took office, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to hold the seat. It was one with a fairly sizable majority, but Reform, so Nigel Farage's god-awful party, think they could bag it. There's not been a date set for it yet, so it's, I don't know, probably in a few weeks or something. But if Starmer loses this one, I mean, he won't lose his job. He's got a majority of 400 or whatever, but the press will certainly have a bit of a field day.
Okay. I am very excited to hear about the results of this election. I know that Starmer's approval rating has been a little bit all over the place. It seemed like he, came in high and then it really went down. And then lately, since he's kind of been, standing up to the U.S. a little bit, maybe it's kind of gone back up. So this will be an interesting clue for how things are actually going. Now, Matt, in the interest of further lightening the mood, how about we briefly ignore our respective countries' backslide into total chaos, and we end with a little fun?
I think we've earned it. Let's go for it.
So let's have a little fun, but not quite as much fun as this British Airways pilot named Mike Beaton, who has been put back on duty after some questionable behavior. Matt, this is a redemption story. This is about second chances. Because Mike Beaton was drug tested and fired after an incident that can best be summed up by his text message to a friend, which read, "That's the story of how I ended up snorting coke off a girl's tit in Joburg." And Matt, I think it's lovely to give people second chances. And this situation is no exception. Now he will have a second chance to snort coke off of the other tit and still be wide awake enough to fly the apparently extremely friendly skies.
I love the fact that he sent that text message, but it would have made more sense to send it as a WhatsApp, wouldn't it? A, because of course it's encrypted, but that's stuff like that is why WhatsApp group chats were invented, wasn't it? Really? It's like,
Exactly.
whoa, tell me more. Yeah.
Can't he take some lessons from the British government, who has their little WhatsApp group chats, and everything is in the
Yeah.
vault if you're talking in there, right?
Yeah, and they, when you try and find anything out, like they have been doing with the COVID inquiry, all of a sudden, oh yeah, we deleted them all. Sorry, we didn't think it was relevant. Like, yeah.
Oopsie. Yes, if you
Oopsie.
are going to snort blow off of anyone's tits, really, and then you're going to go to work directly afterwards and attempt to fly a plane, first things first, talk about it in WhatsApp, not in other applications. You want that encryption. And secondly, just for a belt and suspenders approach, go ahead and delete that conversation right afterwards. He also, Matt, apparently told one of the flight attendants something along the lines of, "I've been a naughty, naughty boy," which was the thing that caused him to get drug tested in the first place.
I like that. I've been a bad boy. I do wonder as well that if anybody's going to get caught doing this, it's going to be pilots, isn't it? Because they're the ones. If you're on the plane or whatever, you have to follow that white line, don't you, all the way down before you go take it off or before you come in, like that. So you're going to be clued on that. In a way, it was a bit of a gotcha.
Yes, if the nose starts to get a little too close to that white line, then the co-pilot needs to say, "Now wait a minute."
I'm not sure where the girl's tit comes in. I won't lie, as far as pilot's training goes, but the rest of it works out.
All right, everyone. Well, I think that's all the advice that we have to dispense for today. I hope that this episode has been nothing but educational for you. We are going to be back next week, but if you miss us too much between now and then, you can always head on over to Matt's channel at The Interesting Times. Handle is right down here. For more of the Westminster end of things, and for more news from Washington, as if you could handle any more, subscribe to the Phoenix News Network, and we will be back here on Friday. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.